opens doors, but does not substitute for credibility or delivery. The question now is, how do they work together? The pillars, the relative influence, and the attributes. Each pillar that you see is measured through specific attributes. The leadership pillar has the attribute of vision, inspiration, cohesive leadership, and governance. The pillar of performance has the attribute, does the government meet needs of the needs of the citizens? It has the attribute of differentiation, reliability, and quality. We also have the pillar of credibility, with attributes of consistency, adaptability, consistency, trust, competence, and strategic alliances. These are key attributes for any credibility. Then we have innovation, with the attributes of creativity, adaptability, value creation, global competitiveness. How competitive are we as a brand? While the pillar of communication has attributes such as transparency, message consistency across board, accuracy, international relations, and global participation. And for the pillar of social equity, fairness and justice, sustainability, rule of law, and inclusion. And for the attributes of culture, we have cultural alignment. How ethical our culture? Do we preserve our cultural heritage? Together, the pillars and attributes provide a diagnostic view of three key elements. One, it provides a diagnostic view of where trust is constrained, where strengths exist, and where strategic intervention would have the greatest reputational impact. Let's note, ladies and gentlemen, we do not measure reputation as opinion. We measure it as a structured trust system composed of identifiable pillars and attributes. By grouping these pillars, by grounding the analysis in this NRPI framework, the Reputation Perception Index enables consistent interpretation, defensible comparison, and longitudinal tracking over time. This is what allows reputation to be managed strategically rather than debated or subjectively. Most times we debate the Nigerian brand by political sentiments, by emotions, and at times by intuitions. But for us to understand how this evidence is generated, I will now invite my colleague, Elder Imoyi, who is before now one of the directors at NDS, to walk us through the study design and methodology. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Celestine. I beg to stand on existing protocol. Yes. The Nigerian Reputation Perception Index, NRPI, utilizes a mixed method research design combining large-scale quantitative survey with in-depth qualitative focus group discussion for comprehensive statistical and conceptual insights. The team, in carrying out this study, the team used both quantitative and qualitative approaches to conduct the National Reputation Perception Index. 2025, using stratified random sampling to ensure proportional representation. The quantitative and qualitative approach was carried out for us to carry out this assignment. In the course of the sampling, 2,726 respondents were canvassed domestically in Nigeria, in the 36 states plus Abuja. And international, in diaspora, we canvassed 1,185 respondents, all for the quantitative. And for the qualitative, we carry out 6 focus group discussions. 6 participants each, totaling 48 participants in the FGP. The sample coverage was within October 2025 and November 23rd, 2025. The benefits of the sampling is we're able to get proportional representation. It also reduced sampling bias, and we were able to get statistical reliability. For the methodology, we implemented a mixed method approach, combining quantitative and qualitative, which I mentioned earlier. The quantitative. Thank you. The target audience were the age of age 18 and above, and the data collection we used the computer-assisted web interview to carry out the data collection. Surveys are administered through a device optimized web link, hosting a structured questionnaire. Respondents selected from the curated database of individuals with relevant exposure to Nigeria, ensuring informed and experience-based responses. The geographical coverage of the survey was, like I said earlier, 36 states plus Abuja. The international countries, we covered 6 continents and 37 countries. The quantitative approach, we were able to carry out those living in Nigeria and abroad. We sampled in the course of the random sampling. I said we were able to we stratified students, media professionals, tech startups, and international groups. These were our respondents. The focus group discussions covered these respondents. Thank you. And this is a snapshot of the methodology and the design. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Thank you. We are going to, the full report is available, but the presenter of the findings will just do that very briefly so that His Excellency will unveil the report before he leaves. He has another meeting. They've been calling him since we've been here. And he has graciously given us a few more minutes. So the lady will make the presentation of the findings. We have listened to the framework. We have listened to the methodology just to confirm that it followed all the scientific processes. We will now look at the highlights of the report, not the details because of time, but the report is available
online. We are going to project the link. I think everybody that registered, everybody has the link. So you can visit the report and study it, and then let's have your comment. So we'll now take the last part before His Excellency will perform the formal unveiling, and then we will continue thereafter. Okay, thank you. So let's take Priscilla.
Yes, please. Well, the protocol has been duly observed. Good afternoon, Your Excellencies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It was Colin Luther Powell who said that experts often possess more data than judgment. And this brings us to the point where we move from the designs and measurement down to what the data actually tells us. Where Nigeria is as of today, and how it is perceived and evaluated by both internal and external stakeholders. And this brings us to Nigeria reputation paradox. The detailed report will be sent to you via mail. So what's the headline finding? Oh, great. So you'll be able to download the detailed report. What's the headline finding? What's the big picture? So this invariably shows that there's been moment of strains and resilience, and also both perception gaps from internal and external stakeholders, convergence and divergence. That means trust signal and not failure, certainly. What does the score say? So when we look at the Nigerian Reputation Perception Index score, the cumulative score is 100. However, our reputation, the Nigerian reputation perception, is 35.2 over 100. Now, when we look at the categories of rating, we realize that it falls under the low trust band. That's the poor trust band. That's where you have the 0 to 39, and invariably below the average score. What does this mean for us? It does not mean failure. It means trust signal. It means that the baseline assessment of how stakeholders are perceived of how Nigeria reputation is perceived from 3,911 stakeholders that were interviewed. Now, it also shows that this gap, it's from the confidence gap relative to the country scale visibility and immense potential. It invariably tells us that there is potential, however, much work would be done. Now, when we look at it, we see that the internal audience evaluated this reputation from lived experiences, whereas international stakeholders evaluated from predictability and also the information that they have seen on the headlines on security, credibility, governance, and leadership. Basically, the risk-first evaluation lens. So when we look at the evidence, what does the evidence say? So from the evidence we have here, we see culture to be what we describe as our reputation amplifier, with a score of 49.4. While this is basically the most score of all the 7 pillars, it's still below average. And then we have the leadership at 37.6, social equity 37.3, communication 33.7, innovation 33.1, performance 32.3, and credibility at 30.7, which invariably indicates the lowest of all the pillars. Now, why is the culture what we describe as the reputation amplifier? You would agree with me that culture, you would agree with us, I beg your pardon, that culture is a unifying factor. Literally, Everyone in the world listens to our Afrobeat, listens to our music. In fact, we have global leaders who out there at the global stages represent our culture with what they wear, their attire. The great leaders such as Ngozi Okonjo-Iweala, Amina Mohammed, and also the Deputy President of the Senate, who is represented here. And this is commendable. And that is because of the likes of these great leaders, we have the score at 49.4. It could be lesser. Now, what's the gap between the international and the domestic? For leadership, we have the international stakeholders scoring leadership at 37.6 and domestic at 48.0. And also for performance, credibility, innovation, communication, social equity, and culture. Like we earlier mentioned, you'll be able to download this report so we don't keep you longer than we had planned. However, we also have a qualitative evaluation from Fiona Cassidy from New Zealand, who said the first one is safety, the second is security, and the last one is stability. These are kinds of the scary things to say. Don't know if I want to go there, based on perception, what she must have heard about Nigeria. Now, what's the regional RPI score? For Nigeria, which is, of course, our nation internally and or domestically, we have 39.1. That's still low trust band and way below average. For the rest of the Africa, we have 29.5. For North American, 27.7. Europe, 24.3. Asian, 21.8. And others, which is basically South American and Oceanian, are classified under that. Now, when we look at the Northwest, Northeast, North Central, Southwest, and Southeast, we can see that there is disparity in how Nigeria's reputation is perceived. So for the North Central, we see 49.8, for Northwest, 48.7, and when we see for the the finding review from for the South is 25.6, and for the Southeast is 29.8. Now, when you look at across all the geopolitical zones, culture still remains consistently the most rated pillar. However, regions varies in terms of other pillars such as credibility and other pillars that are not up to the score of the pillar amplifier, the reputation amplifier, which is the culture. Now we're looking at it now, individual pillars across various geopolitical zones. We have for the North Central, the Northwest, the Northeast, the Southwest, the Southeast, and the South-South. Like we earlier mentioned, details of this we can go through that later when downloaded. Now, how did this data, my amazing colleague earlier mentioned that we had both focus group discussion and questionnaire. However, for the individual pillars, what were the findings? First of all, this pillar shows that for credibility, which happened to be the lowest, with a score of 30.7, we asked the respondent, 3,911 respondents, and out of which 32% strongly agreed that official information from government sources is trustworthy. Leaving 68% saying they disagree, that official information from government sources is not trustworthy. What does this tell us? It tells us that more work needs to be done. So the rest of the questionnaires and several others, we can go through it in the report. However, the qualitative evidence says, from Steve Sampson-Smith, United Kingdom, says to gain credibility, we need to be able to protect our own school children. That's the most horrific idea. So this invariably tells us that our reputation needs to be grossly improved. Now for performance, at the score of 32.3, still on a low trust band. We asked questions such as government programs effectively meet citizens' needs. And we have 27% agreeing that yes, that government programs effectively meets the needs of the citizen. However, we have 73% saying no, that it does not meet the citizens' need. I'm sure that this evaluation and evidences would help us, in ensuring that these questions are better improved on, such as the government programs meeting the citizens' needs better. Now for qualitative evidence, we have, does Nigeria deliver on its promises? The majority answered no, and this is from consensus feedback from focus group. Looking at leadership, with a score of 37.6, still on a low trust band. We asked questions. Nigeria leadership inspires confidence in the future, and 28% agreed that yes, Nigeria leadership inspires confidence in the future. However, we have 72 saying no, that they don't agree. So I'm sure that I would also look at the qualitative evidence in the report as well, especially on that particular pillar, performance. We're moving on to what we call the engine room of every nation. That's the innovation. You see, the stakeholders perceive Nigeria innovation environment as insufficiently enabling, especially with talents and hustles being crippled or held back by infrastructure limitations and lack of systemic support. I beg your pardon. However, when we asked question on Nigeria actively encourages entrepreneurship and startup businesses, we have 52% agree to this question. Well, that's commendable. That's where you can clap. However, we have 48% saying no. They disagree that Nigeria actively encourages entrepreneurship and startup business. Yes, so we can read up the other evidences on our computers or devices. Now we're moving on to the communication, the bane of every society. Because however the work you have done, if it's not well communicated, there's still going to be lapses. Now this particular pillar is considered to be fragmented. There is no unified message. And when the question was asked, government communications about Nigeria are balanced and accurate. However, 38% of 3,911 respondents said yes, they agree, relatively. The government communication about Nigeria are balanced and accurate. However, we have about 62% saying no, that they do not agree. And this leaves communication at a score of 33.7 overall. Now, the media landscape. How does the media reinforce trust? Now, the media also play a key role from our finding in making or mine Nigeria's reputation. And from the finding here, we realize that we have 58% of domestic consume negative news from the media. So it means 58% of the news or information on our reputation is usually on negative news. However, we have just 35% on positive news. So, from your evaluation, you see that we have more reports on negative news than on positive news, which of course hampers on the reputation of our dear nation. Now, we're looking at security and corruption media narrative overshadowing the culture and innovation. You would agree with me that we may not be where we want to be, but we're not where we used to be. However, the media and innovation, these are policies and processes and progresses. However, due to lack of attention given to it, it struggles. And that's why we see in security, we have 51% that is being given attention to by the media. So we have more of news at 51% level that is being covered. You know, we have politics, 28%, we have economy, 24%, we have corruption, 21%, we have culture and sport, 17%, and we have innovation, 5%. Like we said, innovation is the engine room of the nation. However, just 5% is being given attention to. So let's focus on our progresses and policies than our challenges. Yes. So we're moving on to the next, which is inequality, which is social equity. So the next pillar is social equity. So what does this say? Just simply means giving fairness to everyone in the country. And we ask questions such as politics, public policies promote fairness and social justice. And we have 33% who said they agree and 77% who said no, they don't agree. So I'm sure that we would go back to take a look at this. However, the score for social equity is 33.7. And when we, yes, it's 33.7. So basically, so when we look at all this evidence for culture, it's 49.4. So when we look at all of these, we realize that we can do better. For social equity also, we can also do better because there are some government facilities you go to, the ramps are not there, and obviously excluding the persons living with disability, and also from the representation of women in leadership as well, we see that there is gross underrepresentation. So these and a lot more I want to be doing to ensure that this data is being put to act. Just in the words of our president, His Excellency Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCON, he said that the new Nigeria's oil, GCFR, pardon me, GCFR, the Grand Commander of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Yes, please. In his word, he said that the data is Nigeria's new oil. Please celebrate yourselves as I welcome Professor. Oh, okay, so my voice is not enough to welcome our special guest. Please, I will give the microphone to the President, NRPI.
Thank you very much. Thank you. That was very fast and quick. And like the Deputy Senate President said, the report is self-explanatory. They've done a thorough work. We will now do the formal unveiling so that we can excuse His Excellency the Deputy Senate President, and thereafter we will continue. We still have a lot of meat to chew. So, Mr. Moderator, over to you.
Thank you very much, Mr. President. Let's, in the middle. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, a very important report is about to be unveiled, and unveiled by no other than somebody who is reputable to unveil the reports. We are going to call on 10 persons very quickly. The Deputy President of the Senate. Okay, let's. Okay, where is our SANO President, our own? Please come forward. He's representing the academia. We have a Voice of Nigeria DG, a council member. Please come forward. Council member Olubumi Badejo, please come forward. The representative of Ministry of Defense and Federal Ministry of Foreign Affairs, please come forward. Foreign Affairs, come forward. Defense, come forward. Then we have the representative of our own Honorable Minister, Dr. Suleiman Haruna, please come forward. Then we now have Her Excellency, the wife of the President, #1 citizen. Please come forward, the President and the wife. Come forward. We have the chairman of the occasion. And then the last but not the least, we now have the special guest of honor. The chairman of the occasion and the guest of honor, please come forward. These 10 Nigerians will be doing us the honor of unveiling this report.
Yes, if you look at this report, you will see that it has a flat stomach. Visually, we are used to seeing fat books. And the reason is very simple. The report is online. It's digital, online. You can go there and download it. This is just ceremonial. We're not doing any launching. So nobody is going to be asked to take 10 copies and launch. The organizers printed only. Our host is not here. Stanley. No, please.
The flatness of the report. So please, let's even have the technical team, the host.
Even if you don't have a copy, empty now, please. Atao, please just come. Even if you don't have a copy, support His Excellency. SG, two SGs, please come and join us. President of Africa, African journalist, please join us. Please join us. So, Your Excellency, you are in charge.
Please, do you know the website? So they should display it for download. The website. Your website. Mr. Dr. Celeste said they should display the website. Do you have idea? Yeah.
NRPI 2025 report.
Turn it.
Just hold on. You want to cover the staff
Hello. Tell them to turn it. They are facing it. Turn it. Ladies in front. Ladies to come front. For gender balance. Yes. Where is that scarf? Okay,
So Austin, move the table out.
Yes.
Because I need something.
Thank you very much, Your Excellency. A few of us will just see His Excellency off while the program continues. Please, let me request you kindly sit there.
Please, let's be seated. The program.
This is a book I wrote on AI power and Dr. Fiki wrote it forward. And this is Bradley PR and Bradley Nigeria. And I present this to you, sir. This is a book I wrote on AI PR. Yes, I can comment also because of NRPI. I present it to you all.
Kindly note that we have not finished. We are only excusing the Deputy President of the Senate. We are going to provide you details on the report for the next 30 minutes, and that will be. So please, kindly settle down. Kindly settle down. Thank you. Our dear Senator. Please, let's settle down. We are not done. Please, can we settle down? Okay, thank you very much. We have received the detailed report, which we had to abridge the presentation. Please, if you do not have the link to download the report, can I see your hand so the ushers can come to you? If you don't have the link, if you didn't register when you came in, may I please see your hand? Chidima, can you quickly attend to them and your people? Chidima, they will give you keep your hand up as they try to reach you. And you can also type, if you can see, https //rpireport.com. But just use the scan, it's easier than to type, because if you miss one word, you may not get it. We would have a short panel discussion, but to conclude the presentation, let me give few remarks. You know, on the point, can we go back to the slide, please? Let's close this door. Please close this door. You know where we stop, take it there. Well, the question now is, actually, if you miss what we're about to do, you have missed the meat of what brought us here. We're sorry that the DSP had to leave before now. So, what does the result mean for us? In Africa, we say wisdom does not live in one head. So, this report is not an accusation, it's simply a mirror. And it tells us how Nigeria is being read by Nigerians themselves and by the world. Whether we like it or not, perception shapes consequences. And that has been confirmed by a series of reports, and I'll cite only two. The one by OECD and the World Bank, which shows that 70% of global investment decisions are influenced by country risk perception, not just the issue of economic fundamentals. So when trust is weak, capital becomes cautious. Talent migrates, opportunities become expensive. This again is because our elders have said that the goat known for breaking the fence is watched very closely. This is also why the study by the African Development Bank and IMF confirmed that risk assessments estimate that Nigeria loses between 10 to 15 billion US dollar every year because of unrealized investment tied to perception-related risk. In the same vein, the International Labour Organization and UNDP studied and shared with us as late as last year that 60% of skilled African migrants leave Africa not because of higher income, but largely because of issues with institutional trust and predictability. So the question now is this report fair to the current government? I need to be very clear here. Reputation is cumulative. Just as our elders say that a river is filled by many streams. This means that the index is not judging one administration or one reform. It reflects years of signals that we have been given on behalf of the Nigerian brand in terms of policy choices, credibility gaps, communication failures, and consistency or lack of it. So, in this index, you also had from the very beginning from Dr. Achi that leadership, performance, credibility, communication, and innovation account for 80% of reputation outcomes. And indeed, Ambassador Keshi has told us that our elders knew long before what reputation means, even before economics. They have reasons why we were given from the beginning. And because there are good reasons why you were named, you are supposed to also carry the name of your family and protect the values that they embody. So, even in Africa, we realize that a good name can open doors more than money would. Now, going through the report, one of the things you will ask will be any of these three questions. I've talked about whether it is fair and whether it ignores recent progress. Since 2023, we must agree that the government has undertaken difficult but necessary reforms, including fuel subsidy removal, foreign exchange unification, payment system sovereignty in Africa, and social protection engineering. But perception always lags behind reality. This explains why we are where we are. This is because Nigeria reaches the world largely through crisis, headlines that screen insecurity, corruption, and governance stress. And as our elders again will say, the loudest drum travels furthest. And so we must not see this as a sentence. It's simply a mirror. Now, what is Nigeria doing right? I would want to identify 5. Just 5. One of it is economic diversification. For the first time, our non-oil exports are pegged at 55%. It's never been there since we started this journey of enjoying our oil. The services sector is also contributing more than half of the GDP today. These are not hopes, they are measurable shifts. Our cultural and creative industries, as you've seen from the report, they are our major reputation fashion. These are not soft assets. They are serious economic and reputational forces. Of course, artists like Tenso have won the Grammy 2 times, then Bonner and Whiskey, who have also won it once, just last year, and then 2 years before. They have always, as Ambassador Keshi will say, when you enter a taxi in Europe, most likely you will hear the Nigerian music being played. When you go to clubs, I hardly go to clubs, but I'm told that they play also Nigerian music there. Now, Afrobeat, by data, accounts for 60% of Africa's global music exports. And Nollywood, by UNESCO assessment, produces 2,500 films annually. But as we have seen in the report, culture can open doors But there's a lot more that needs to be done to keep those doors open. And this is one part of the gaps that this report has exposed for lots of stakeholders to begin to interact for climate innovation. Same thing with Stanley Anibogu, who became the Commonwealth Young Person of the Year. Then there's a case of Kayetiku painting on canvas in the world. So there are so many areas that our young people are contributing. And finally, in the area of who is moving my slides? That's hijack. That's hijack. In the area of digital innovation skills, the statistics have it that 2/3 of this they reside here in Nigeria. So there's a lot we are doing. Also in the area of global relevance, Nigeria still remains very central, with over 40 successful peacekeeping missions. And so we believe that there's a lot we are doing, but we need to realize again and again that reputation is about doing the right things continuously in most of the sectors as much as is possible. Then let me conclude by asking, why do we need to bother about this call, as you have seen it? Reputation is important because even at the level of policy making, if your reputation is low, if trust is low in you, the policy uptake will be very low. So policymakers need to also do something about addressing this low score. For investors, we know very well that your reputation as a nation defines the risk. The president talked about how people will look at your reputation before they determine how much to loan to you and for what interest. This is very important, and we must always bear that in mind. So when we talk about interest rates and all that, whether it's domestic or international borrowing, it is tied also to risk assessment, because your reputation is what tells the person whether he can get his money back from you or not. Now, we also realize that for the citizens, and particularly those at home and abroad, from statistics as late as November 2025, we saw that 1.7 skilled Nigerians left these countries since 2015. And over 60% of them cited institutional trust and predictability as the decisive factor than just the idea of looking for a great environment. Because, as our elders say, a child who is not embraced by the village can burn that village or land. What is the way forward? And this is where Celeste wanted us to go to. 5 of them. The first one is governance before graphics. What does it mean? We should emphasize performance than messaging. You don't announce harvest before you dig your yam. It's when you dig it, you say you have a good harvest. The second point here is that when you are doing the right thing, you must talk about it. I've just talked about the Yobe girls and the young people doing well. We have not used it to make deposits to our reputation nationally. So we should tell the right story, because silence is never neutral. But you must have performance before you do the talking. That's the point for what we're going to talk about. Number 3, we must emphasize proof over promises. And that means that we should follow, like Timmy quoted the President of the Federal Republic of Nigeria to say, data is Nigeria's new oil and is the world's new oil. We have provided data here. It means that in correcting some of the gaps, we must also have the data, because it is those data that will speak for us. So, the fourth thing we must do is to appreciate the fact that our youth must be in the policy room. The median age in Nigeria is 18. So when you exclude the youth, I've said it since yesterday I mentioned, I said, think of a Boeing 747 or even an A340 or 380. Normally they have 4 engines. Imagine you flying from Nigeria to London with just 1 engine. The plane may go, but what do you risk? You will be very inefficient. You are taking a lot of risk, because if something happens to 1 engine, you are gone. That is what will happen to our development if we leave our youth out of the decision-making process. 5, and that's the last one. A credible national reputation cannot be built on silence. The media must commit to its constitutional role as the fourth estate of the realm, acting ethically, professionally, and fearlessly in ensuring that we hold power to account, even as we encourage the strengthening of freedom of press, because nations with strong reputation do not fear scrutiny, only fragile ones do. I have engaged with most of my colleagues, leaders in the media, also starting even from Professor Radio, who was a DGNT many years back. He said, when we talk about media freedom, he believed that it is not about censorship from government, most of it is self-censorship. And so we need to begin to address this. The media must play its role, because you need a referee, and the Constitution has given you that role. Finally, is this report saying that Nigeria is finished? No. But the truth is that it has also highlighted our potentials. Potentials, unfortunately, do not build nations, but trust build nations. And so if we listen to the signals in this report, and we act with discipline and communicate with honesty, Nigeria can move forward. Of course, not overnight, but with deliberate efforts year in, year out, we can achieve a higher reputation score. We must bear in mind that from World Bank reports, again, and also some local researchers that have looked at this issue, you've seen that if a country does the right thing, and when you say a country in this case, it means every stakeholder. We are managing different aspects of where people come in contact with our country. So it's not just government that is supposed to be doing the right thing. If somebody comes to the airport and he meets a truck pusher who steals one of his items, he goes away thinking Nigerians are thieves. So as long as that, it means that there's a lot of work we need to do, and that's why the media has so much to help us in carrying the message to see that stakeholders. So the report says that when you do the right thing consistently for 5 to 10 years, you end up with about 30 to 40% improvement in your perception. Finally, we must note that reputation must be measured like inflation. We need to track its growth. We also need to correct it like we correct policies that have failed. We also need to know that anything you cannot measure really cannot be improved upon and cannot deliver development. Reputation is an area that we must strongly care and cater for from today. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, DP and Chairman. We are coming to the end of this. We are not going to take some of the things that we had desired to take, but we will just quickly run through the panelists who are already here with us. And where is the moderator? Please. We are going to take the panelists. While we are doing that, are you ready with your Google message? Okay. May I invite the Minister of Information, who has been here with us from the beginning, to give us his Google message. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. For anybody who knows the Minister of Information, they don't just know him as a good professional, they also know him as a very handsome man. So please don't call me. Nobody will agree with you when you call him the Minister of Information. Thank you very much, Mr. President, the First Lady of NRPI, the Vice President, our esteemed guests, distinguished council members, other guests that are here present, the Chairman of COCOP, Guild of Corporate Online Editors is here with us, Secretary General of AFRA. I'm happy to have this opportunity to represent the Honorable Minister of Information, to present a good message from him regarding the presentation of this report. Let me just go through it. The National Reputation Perception Index Report 2025, produced by the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations, is a pioneering document that interrogates how global and local publics view Nigeria. Let me commend the NRPI under the leadership of Dr. Ikene Liako for being forward-thinking at all times and bringing national reputation to the front burner. And if I may pause here to comment on the commendation by our esteemed elder here, to the Honorable Minister, I want to put it on record. Apart from the fact that the Minister is a professional PR practitioner of more than 30 years standing, he's lucky to be surrounded and supported by professionals in the PR sector every day of the week. So he is protected. That's why he's getting all the commendations. It's not just his person, but the people around him who are there to support him day in, day out. Now, one critical outcome of this report is that government can use the data to counteract negative stereotypes, including those hindering national cohesion and patriotism, and not just foreign direct investment. The trust deficit between government and citizens endures because reputation is a governance issue. Therefore, governance has to make more effort to meet the needs of citizens. In Nigeria, where perception shapes reality, this report stands as a strategic asset, and it will inform public policy reforms, enhance diplomatic engagements, and improve investment inflows. Now, deliberate efforts like the National Values Charter and the National Reputation Management Group are already running to bring out the best of Nigeria to its local and foreign audiences. The government of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu is conscious of the fact that reputation is a derivative of governance. You do well, your reputation grows. When you don't, your reputation drops. It has therefore initiated projects in the area of infrastructure, security, and social investments to meet this end. The ministry will study the report and apply its recommendations. And I urge all stakeholders, government, private sector, civil society, to embrace the insights presented by this report. Together, let us ensure that we do what we should do to ensure that our country has a positive perception that can transform into enduring prosperity, leading to a Nigeria that commands global respect. Thank you, and have a great day.
Thank you very much, the Honorable Minister of Information, for that wonderful remarks. Priscilla, are you ready? Okay, we're going to be, yes, let's take this out. We're going to be having, like the President rightly said, a very brief panel discussion. And then we have somebody who is also very competent to handle that, a member of the Young Professionals Hub, and the CEO, Bridge Consults. You have the floor, please.
Thank you very much, sir. Once again, good evening, Your Excellencies, very distinguished ladies and gentlemen. Good evening. Thank you. So we're moving on to the panel session. And first on the panelist is the Secretary General for African Public Relations Association, Dr. Omoniyi Ubieton. Thank you. I beg your pardon if that name was modest. And the next is the CEO, Piroti Group, Mrs. Kasha Ilya. Is she in the room? Thank you. Please let's put our hands together for them. The louder we clap, the faster they are here. Thank you. Also, the President of Congress of African Journalists, Nairobi, Kenya, Dr. Chris
Isiguzu is here. Thank you. Up next is the president of Ratau, Prince Emeka Kanu. Please let's celebrate these great leaders as they come up stage. We also have the president of Senior Staff Association of Nigeria University, Comrade Mohammed Haruna. Thank you so much. Okay. I beg your pardon. Oh, one more person. We have Ambassador Dapo Oyewole, the Secretary General of the Conference of Speakers and President of African Legislators, COSFAL. Please get your hands together for the great leaders. Are you just looking like that? That time's going to be bigger and better. Thank you. It's so exciting to have you all here. Just beyond the profiles that we know, just a quick one. Can you just quickly introduce yourself beyond what we have on paper and internet? There's a microphone beside you. Can you please check? Oh, there is none. Okay. Just introduce yourself beyond what we have on the internet.
Good evening or good afternoon, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. It's a pleasure to be here today. My name is Kasha Ilya, and I'm actually the co-founder of Report-2. Report-2 cuts across different sectors, international relations, trade and investments, financial advice.
Thank you. My name is Dr. I teach advertising and PR in communication management and com strategy at Road Business School. And I am the Secretary General of African PR Association. Thank you.
My name is Chris Isiguzo. I'm a Nigerian journalist. Thank you. Prince Emeka of Call Magic Films and the broadcast.
Good evening, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Dapo Oyewole. I wear two hats, one as the Secretary General of the umbrella body of speakers and presidents of the Senate across Africa. And I also serve His Excellency the President as the Senior Special Assistant on International Cooperation. I think the charge he gave us, however, was to say something that is beyond. Well, the most important aspect, in fact, is that I'm also a member of NRPI.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. President, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My name is Mohammed Ibrahim, a fellow of this institute, the president of Senior Staff Association of Nigerian Universities, the National Internal Committee of the Nigerian Labour Congress, and a member of the governing board back at the Modern Institute of Labour Studies. Thank you.
Thank you. Please let's celebrate on 1 second. So we have heard or listened to the report on the Nigeria Reputation Perception Index. And apparently from the report, the finding will realize 35.2 is rated as low trust band. How would you react to this report?
I mean, the reports, is based on data and it's true, the many Nigerians are not bad reputation of Texas. So I'm glad that this report came at a very significant time where Nigeria is also getting a lot of international attention as well.
Thank you. Over to you, sir.
I think for me, I'm a student and a scholar, and so I feel that the worst thing that can happen to any society is for you to fold your hands and do nothing, just because you think things are not going the way they should go. I was speaking with Ambassador Yukeshi shortly after what I've seen him done over a few. I met him more than 20 years ago when I served as a special media advisor to Frank Oki Jr. when he was Minister of Information and Communications. And this man has been consistent. This is precisely the message that NRPI has passed since the Renaissance. I describe as the Renaissance what has happened in the last 4 years. So, first and foremost, my reaction to this is that we're on the right path. It doesn't matter what the facts present. The fact that we were able to do what? To do in a quantifiable and scientific manner how we're faring in the reputation space means that we are very serious about building our society. And I want to commend NRPI for this. The report says clearly that this is not a performance assessment. The Vice President of NRPI has stated also that, look, this is cumulative. You have a couple of rivers emptying into a delta to get into the Atlantic to form a pool of water. So what has happened is what has been happening to us for a long time. This is the first time we have made effort to assess. And we didn't have a completely hopeless situation just because we have a value of 35.2. No. The gaps there, what we need to tap into, and where we're also doing well. Clearly, perceptively presented by the Vice President of NRPI shows that we have things to learn from what this data has shown to us. But let me say this just quickly before I hand over to my brother, our former NUJ president. The fact that the NRPI did not hide this under the carpet just because Nigeria didn't score 89 or 90-something% shows that we have an institution that is not just committed to regulating the practice of PR and communication management, but that is ready to be part of the upturn of what the present government in Nigeria is planning to do to remake our country. I'd like to stop here for now. Thank you.
Thank you very kindly. Over to you, sir.
Okay, thank you very much. The first thing is to acknowledge the courage, the boldness, the honesty, sincerity displayed by NRPI. Ordinarily, when you engage in this kind of exercise and the result is not too good, you see people adjusting figures and the reality will not be shown to the people. 35.2 is so dismal, no doubt about it. We must say it the way it is. And when you were reviewing the report, I told the person sitting beside me that NRPI was so generous with this figure, 35.2. If we have got something different from this, then, as we say in our local parlance, Ojoro don't enter. So, but be that as it may, 35.2 is not a judgment. It does not mean that our situation has become so hopeless. Looking at the specifics that you presented, and of course the Vice President of the NRPI presented, it simply means that we have a whole lot of job to do. You know, this is the first time we're looking at our reputation. The first time. Now we have something to work with. We have a report that we can work with. We look at the specifics, the sectoral analysis that you presented. No doubt that cultural arts, we've been doing fairly okay there. But in other areas, like leadership, governance, I don't think we have really fared well.
You know, because oftentimes you see a situation where government comes up with policies that they only use the lens of those in government to look at these policies. And that's usually the challenge. They don't embrace the reality. Because by the time you go out there, we have been seeing all sorts of rebasing of our economy, our GDP. We've always seen that. But the reality out there says something entirely different. Because you are a political office holder. You practically don't spend money on anything. If it is about making calls, you can easily access it from the network providers. If you are about buying fuel, you have your fuel dump dedicated to you. You live in government houses, you don't buy water, you don't patronize anybody. So whatever they present to you, you embrace it as a reality. But by the time you go out there and relate with the common man, like us, out there, you see an entirely different scenario. Yes, as a government spokesperson, naturally you'll be speaking through that lens. But with what you have presented, I think it's necessary that government must pick copies of this report, analyze it properly, and see our challenges, and find ways to make up the situation. And one thing we must bear in mind is that if we want to build our reputation, I was telling somebody that was sitting close to me at the other end, you don't need to tell somebody that I'm credible. You don't need to tout your integrity to anybody. They will see it themselves. And that's the way it is. So a situation where we keep announcing, yeah, we have done well. We are not saying nobody has done well anyway. But engage with the ordinary people out there. And I can assure you that you will throw away whatever you have and behold reality. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let's hear your reaction, sir.
Well, this is very impressive in the sense that for the first time we can see sincerity in action. It is very simple here what we have seen, that every element that the diagnosed have been halfway cured. It is not very simple that people stay out of the crowd to access themselves. If you want to really tell yourself the truth, you stay away from the crowd. Look at yourself, whether you are the same in the morning as you are in the afternoon and at night. Whether you are one who complains of a headache in the morning and in the afternoon you take headache remedy, at night you drink so much hard wine. So it continues. But today we have seen that he who lights up the way for others to see will always walk through the shadowy path of light, the darkness, radiating the light itself. You don't give what you don't have. Today, the NRPI president and the council and the entire NRPI and members of the NRPI are all in the public relations management have shown that a father is a reflection from the son. You see the father in the son. The Honorable Minister of Information today have been judged a highly reputable personality. And the son, the leader, the president of the NRPI, has also shown that, because every organization, every institute is a reflection of the leadership. Today, NRPI has shown the world that they can tell it as it is. When I was introducing myself, I just said, from what this I was going to say, I'm a broadcaster, and I'm president of Radio Television Theatre Workers Union, the largest union umbrella body for broadcast media and cultural workers in Nigeria. Now, because of our reputation, because of who we really are, for the first time in Africa, I was elected Vice President of World Media, Information, Entertainment and Arts Union, and titular of Uni Global in Lisbon. And when it happened, it was because I was a Nigerian that I headed. It's only in Nigeria you have the organization, a union that embodies broadcast media, culture, and art. So if Nigeria, if we didn't score up to 10%, they won't recognize us. But we've not been telling ourselves the truth because we've been over-assessing ourselves. And for the first time, it shows that the destination is near. Because if we embrace whatever recommendation this report had given, because you don't lie to your doctor and your lawyer. These are two people you don't tell lie for you don't give false impression about your person. So today we have just laid it bare. The NRPI have just told the lawyer, the doctor, I have this element, I'm sick here, so give me the treatment. Diagnosing, it's been said it's this, it's hypertension, it's cholera, it's this. So what's left is for all of us to come together and see how we can change this narrative. Thank you for your job well done.
Thank you, we appreciate you. Over to you, sir. How would you react to the report? Pardon me, I have to add something to your question, especially in your role as the speakers in the conference and all. So you see, from the report, we realized that when we're looking at the headline review, we realized that some killers were given better media projection. Because it's possible to have a good reputation, but then, a bad perception, because the good reputation has not been well projected. And it's better to have a better perception on a bad reputation. So in your role as a speaker, we realize that there are some factors that help in shaping this narrative or perception of Nigeria's reputation. And speakers, basically globally and internationally, also help to shape this narrative. How would you react to the perception and the reputation? Do you think that they really align? Do you think that the perception as shown or projected by the media is truly the reality we have as a reputation, especially with the influence of speakers globally?
Well, thank you very, very much. I'm delighted to be the one that got through questions. First of all, I'll say, let me step back a little bit. I think about a year and a half ago, I was with Mr. President, and he spoke about this issue of reputation. And one of the things in our conversations that he always says is that reputation is an asset. It is almost a mantra in my mind whenever I'm doing whatever I'm doing. And he said we need to develop a survey. We need to be able to measure this. We need to be able to use this as a basis for guiding what we do in our country or even within NRPI. What he said will be done has been done. He had a goal, he made a promise, and thanks to the entire team and your good self, presenters, that report has been done and it has been delivered. That is what governance is all about. Making promises, seeing things that are needed, and working with a team of people to get it done. So a round of applause to NRPI to start. And that is how we begin to shape a reputation. First of all, it's easy for us to have this conversation thinking about it at the international level or even at the national level. But I'd like to bring it back to the individual level. The cumulative reputation of Nigeria, internationally, it's not just about government. It's about the actions of each and every Nigerian who is out there, if you see where I'm coming from. So, first of all, if we're talking about shaping a reputation of our country, yes, government has its role to play, institutions have their role to play, the legislature has its role to play, but the role of individuals is absolutely critical. For example, if you talk about a Chinese person, one of the first things that comes to your mind is discipline, diligence, and delivery. They get things done. What we want to see is a scenario that we have a country where we are known for certain skills and capabilities. Now, the report itself is a fantastic job done. As someone who used to run a think tank in England, I know very well that there's a correlation between evidence and policy. We don't have too much of that here. And that is why this is a very important report, because it gives us a goalpost, it helps us to identify where we have done well and where we have not done well. And talking about that, yes, there's some areas where we have not done well, but we shouldn't focus on that alone. We should look at where we have done well. And I want to talk briefly about culture. You know, when we were kids, and I'm not sure how many people here used to play cowboys and Indians. When you want to choose who will be the cowboy and who will be the Indian, nobody wanted to be the Indian. Why? Because in the movies, the American movies that you see, the Indian always loses. The United States, the reputation that they have as the superpower was projected to us in our minds purely through culture, through the movies that we saw. You see where I'm coming from? So to a certain degree, when we say Nigeria is doing well when it comes to culture, we should focus on that. We should build on that. Lastly, to the point of my perception, I think that the work itself has just begun. It is one thing to do the report and provide all the indicators and the sort of what the statistics. It is another thing to now translate that into action, and that is where the work needs to start. And we can turn this around. And how we turn this around is through partnership. You have gathered in this room the different stakeholders from different communities. Each and everyone here needs to go back thinking, how do we work, looking at all these different aspects, and how do we turn them around? Lastly, to the issue of the legislature, and perhaps I should correct you, or maybe you're speaking prophetically. I am not the speaker, but I receive it, as we say in Nigeria. I helped to superintend the secretariat of the umbrella group of speakers and presidents of the Senate across Africa. And just in December, we gathered in Morocco, in Rabat, for our annual General Assembly. And one of the things that tends to be assumed is that legislative leaders are sitting there and just enjoying the privilege of office. But all the speakers that sat in Morocco for 3 days, going through workshops, doing capacity building initiatives, all reflected three critical things. One, their commitment to seeing a continent that is better, has a better perception and delivers for its people. Secondly, they wanted to work together and to translate the promises and the things the legislature should be doing to the grassroots. And thirdly, and very critical in the times that we're in, they were all committed to strengthening democracy. So is there a gap between the perception and the reality? Yes, there is. And that gap itself is strategic communication. And that's one of the critical areas in which this report can actually drive us forward in the right direction. Thank you very much.
Much appreciated, sir. You just looking like that. Over to you, sir. We'd like you to react to the findings and basically the report. However, in your capacity as you play a role in the Senior Staff Association of Nigeria University, you would agree with me that whatever that is discussed here, it's not taken down to the grassroots, which is, of course, the undergrads in the several universities that you help to coordinate. It will be efforts to an extent futility. Maybe not totally taking out the importance of this, but it will not reach the desired results that is envisaged. So how would you ensure that this report is, the gap in the report is closed in your capacity and taking this message down to your colleagues, you know, as senior staff association of universities, so the younger ones will get the message?
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much for not double barrel, but probably triple barrel question. And let me start this way by saying that I've never been more proud of being a member of NRPI than today. Yes, because the first thing that one would think is that Ike Nehru, president of NRPI in itself as an institute, being close to government, to bring people here and tell the government what they want to hear. But that is not what happened. What has been presented, as somebody said here, is something that is honest, that is clear, that is apt, and that is factual. So this is something that is worth celebrating for us as members of NIPR and as Nigerians. For someone who works in a university, and there are a few people here I've seen around here. Attending meetings or forums such as this, where statistics are read out, reports are shown to the public or read out to the public, is nothing new. But what is making this one different is that even a novice, having attended here, having seen what has transpired, and from the facts and figures that have been read out, you know that what has been said is factual. And I would have to commend everyone that has a hand in doing this job, because it is clear that Nigeria is emerging from where we should have been long ago. Now, we have been celebrating culture, we've been celebrating arts, but we have all identified that the problem is about governance, it's about leadership. It is true that if you fix leadership, every other thing will take shape. It is true, if you have good governance, every other thing will flow. And the major issue that I've identified as an individual about Nigeria, the cancer is indiscipline and corruption. If you take care of these two things, most of the gaps that we've noticed here will be fixed. We thank God today the NBS, because all the other statistics that we've been hearing is about, the ones that are read out by the Nigerian Bureau of Statistics. Today they have a rival, NRPI. Yes, and I'm happy about that, because NRPI is telling us this is where we are, this is what we need to do, and these are the problems. So for us who work in the citadels of learning, this research work is commendable, and it is something that we should call work in progress. And we will urge NRPI and its leadership, and all of us here, to continue to ensure that this report is not just swept under the carpet, and that government representatives who are here should take this very, very seriously. Because they say the way you are addressed is that's how you are addressed. So for me, my president, I'm very proud of your leadership, and I'm also being very proud of being a member and a fellow of this institute. And you have shown capacity, and NRPI has shown that institutes such as this have a lot to do in ensuring that governance is enhanced in Nigeria. Thank you so much.
Much appreciated, sir. So let's get the audience view. You have a question? We're taking just, okay, one question for each panelist. So let's start with this. Great. In general, sorry, I was told due to time constraint, we can only take 3 questions. Kindly bear with us. Can you please be specific as to who you would like to respond to your question?
You may want to make a comment.
Oh, okay, comment, but if it's a question, but if it's a comment, that's fine. Please go ahead with your comment. But if it's a question, kindly address it to someone specific.
This one is okay. Thank you very much for it. To congratulate NRPI. This is an exercise in genuine patriotism. But to take it along the comments of Chris, who even demonstrated greater courage still. He said he's a courageous person. He told us things a lot of people also take enough time to say. Let's make sure we capture everything he said, because this is a seminal work, very unusual, something that will stimulate the thinking. And what NIPR has done for us is to give us material to work with going forward. That's the first observation. The second one is the cultural element you note has a very high score.
2004, I took the Nigerian delegation to the New York Film Festival. Embarrassment number one, not good news number one, exactly what everybody has said about our music and Nollywood. We then found out that Nollywood in Washington area was clearing out $100 million in income for those involved. Nollywood. So we went to the Washington County authorities, chief minister, and the idea was for them to help us recover our money. First, we found out it was all going into piracy, and that most of those involved are of that's how we ran the program, because what it would have led to would have been 100 million without tax. It will be international news, it will be backfire. But the point I'm making is this: all over the world, South Africa, the NRPI festival, the same thing. We are getting visibility, not economic mileage, not political mileage. There are driver in London who is shouting about Nigerian music. You are enjoying the visibility and reputation, how your people are performing. The thing is to convert it into political leverage, which is what America does at the moment. So that's the other level to bring into what you're trying to do. Then, the NRPI released a direct charge to one of the most hardworking people I've ever met in servicing public good. There's an ongoing project.
That answer will be bigger and better.
There's an ongoing project to address the question of national protocols. I don't remember the committee. Sorry. Other precedents and and all of that, so that we don't keep carrying protocol that doesn't belong there. I'm proposing another assignment. If you come to a place as brothers from the same family, and I introduce you, and my sister says, no, that's not the correct pronunciation of his name, something is wrong. Have we noticed that routinely we mispronounce the names of people who are not from our area? It used to be the rule in FRCN, you can't try it and retain your job. I went to FRCN, when was it? Yes. After my wife, they said, no, you can't study philosophy. I said, okay, I won't go to school. I'm not going to tell you. I tell FRCN, I got the job, the family background. The point I'm making, even today, there are people who have been working in this day for more than 18 years. They will tell you, oh, Chairman Nduka, Chris has joined the Interior State. People who are working in this company for more than 3 years still say Nduka. Please, let's start a new campaign. Later, NRPI gave the point that it is the marketing of national reputation for citizens of the nation to consistently mispronounce the names of their fellow citizens because of where they come from. No American will say Arkansas. They'll tell you so. Yeah, there are sections of that massive country where you can't say Arkansas, I don't hear that stuff. So that's something else I think we should take on. Finally, Chris said he's a commonized lab. Nobody here is a common man or common woman. Let's not forget that. Otherwise, we use our paradigms to measure it. There's a friend, you know him, who told me that people are saying that things are not improving. It's not entirely true. Most Nigerians are now buying brand new cars. I said, tell you, have you been drinking? His conception of Nigerians are the worst we know. And that comes to less than 0.5%. We don't exist if you want to quantify Nigeria. The majority must be approached just like this to take care of it. Thank you.
Much appreciated, sir. I crave the indulgence of other speakers to kindly summarize what you have to say in a minute so we don't keep people longer than they plan. Thank you so much for that great contribution, sir. Indeed, we're going to put to action all that you have recommended. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Peter Rene is the name. To be fast, number one, I want a situation where the explanation of the VP about this program can be put together somehow. I will begin to take it around the country. Because from the beginning to the end, that is said, how we package it, we need to package it and start taking it around. Secondly, there must be a reorientation program, maybe NRPI, National Orientation Program, because the challenge we have is that we just want to work. So there must be a national reorientation program going through schools, universities, churches, mosques, and what have you. And lastly, consequence management. Until people get punished for what they do that is wrong, we are not going anywhere. In Abuja, thank you, sir. In Abuja, when you stop at the traffic light, you see all this commercial, whatever, even big jeep, they'll just come and nothing happens. And what a change, nothing will change. Thanks.
Much appreciated, sir. Over to the next, the third speaker. Oh, great. So that will be the last.
Thank you. My name is Tope Ojime. Just two things. One, I am very proud because I'm a member of the NRPI. I think that it's important that this discussion goes beyond this room, particularly because I come from the academia, like Prof, particularly in the universities. I think it's very important that this is discussed in departments of mass communication across universities in Nigeria. And I think that needs to happen like immediately. Number two, what happens to research? I mean, it's a problem that all of us in academia have, is that we do researches, we get stuff done, and it just goes to the shelf, and it stays there. I think it's important to set this to action. And action should be, what do we do moving forward? And I also want to encourage that we shouldn't stop for 2025, we should start immediately for 2026. Thank you.
You're just looking like that. Thank you so much for those comments and contributions. Well, back to the panelists. Would like you to share the final thoughts of this in just a minute. Thank you.
I think everyone here on the panel has said it all. This report came at a very timely information, and as a young person who has lived outside Nigeria, living in Nigeria, you can actually now use this as a diagnostic to see how this affects us, the opportunities that we lose out on. And I think that this should also be institutionalized across NDA, so ministries, agencies, schools, as the gentleman said, it should be trickled down so that every young person, Nigerian, has access to this information.
Thank you. Beautiful thought. Over to you.
Thank you so much for the comments from all the speakers. I just like to say this to the leadership of NRPI. I think our idea of leadership, even from the way it is done conceptually in the study, there's a need for us to define it when we start an advocacy around the issues here. Vice President, sir, I think I need to emphasize this. It is not when people are elected or appointed at certain level that they are considered as leaders. The concept of distributed leadership paradigm should apply, where we get people to know, right from primary school, that you are a leader in any capacity in which you find yourself. Mr. President, I'm saying that our concept of leadership, I mean, as a distributed leadership paradigm model will apply, where even in dealing with peer groups that we have in schools, we let students and pupils know that at every level you are a leader. And I think we need to carry this message here. The final thing to say, sir, is the crisis that we have seen at the moment in communication, which also this study has taken out. Connecting to what Professor Ikichuku has said, and it's important, sir, that we have a group of communication managers, journalists, advertisers, PR people, who are going to communicate what has happened here in terms of what we have generated and its implication, especially in the manner in which the Vice President of NRPI has pushed it. I just think it's important to amplify the voice of Professor Jane on this matter so that this thing does not end up on the shelf without it having an impact. Remember, Mr. President, it was the leadership that you and your colleagues provided beginning from the Citizen Summit. I see a connection from what happened at Citizen Summit and what we are doing here today. And so it's a continuum. We have to communicate these historic findings in a way that we are able to measure what we gain from it. I'd like to start.
Absolutely. Thank you so much, sir. Over to you, sir. Please, can we make it 30 seconds? Thank you. A great indulgence.
I think the APRA Secretary General has captured it properly, but I must add a few words. Nigeria's reputation is not going to change because we desire it to change. It will change from the point when governance begins to deliver. The primary responsibility of a responsible government is to ensure there is protection of lives and property of the citizens. Number two is to project welfare, general welfare of the citizens. By the time we begin to deliver along this line, the nation's reputation will naturally change. Number two, our reputation will change when communication stops being incoherent. We must communicate coherently. Not when Mr. B is saying a different thing, another is saying a different thing, and these things are not matching with reality. Number three, our reputation is going to change when we begin to see trust in our system. Once this is done, we don't need to spin the media, to make the media, coerce the media, force the media, compel the media to say what we want. Media will not see negative to communicate. It will be a natural transition. Oftentimes, you see people, they see the media as a problem. Media is not a problem. Yeah, we like feeling on negative things and all that. No. It's the mirror of the society. Government totally, or democracy dies in darkness. So the media is there to communicate reality. So once there is a change, like I have painted, things will naturally transition to where we want it to be. Thank you very much. Congratulations, NRPI. And of course, Mr. President, my brother. Thank you.
Actually, we don't look for a score of very good when excellence is possible. We've seen an excellent work. We have seen that when confidence speaks, uncertainty trembles. We have given ourselves a report that is uncensored. So when the media gives what's not censored, you see the reality. So what we are saying today, and Igbo parlance says, if you want to mold a gun, look at the tail of a kite. Dr. Ikene Biako, the Vice President and NRPI members have shown Nigeria the way to be sincere. And it's only when we eschew greed and avarice that we can have integrity and a reputation to build them. Reputation, trust, and integrity are like virginity. Once you lose them, you can't get them again.
Thank you very much indeed. I think it's important to say this. Data is political. To academics and researchers, it's about numbers, it's about statistics. But to policymakers and politicians, it's political. I remember when I served as a special advisor to the Minister of National Planning. There were two projects I was involved in. One was the rebasement of our GDP, which we did along with the NBS, like you rightly mentioned. And the second one was the key performance indicators to measure the performance of ministries. So anybody looking at that from a technical perspective, of course, that's brilliant. That's exactly what we should be doing. But the political challenges that came as a result of wanting to measure, and also when the NBS releases its results, the way governments respond, and the way even governments as at then responded, you see that data can be political. But the objective is really not going to indict, it's going to challenge. And that is the key point here. How do we use all the learnings from this report to challenge government, to challenge the different stakeholders, to take the necessary actions to ensure that when we gather again in a year from now, what we're looking at is different. So, in the spirit of being challenged to action, I am going to take 3 specific actions. One, Mr. Chairman, I beg your pardon, Mr. President, I would be very grateful if we could find, if you could help us put together a letter summarizing some of the key findings of this report, which we can present to the Chief of Staff to Mr. President. I will meet one by myself.
You're just looking like that. Please put your hands together for that. Thank you.
And if we can now arrange a few meetings around how NRPI can support the government to do better in some of these critical areas, I think that's something to do. So we can do something like a round table with some of the critical government actors who can help to translate that. Secondly is I have the privilege of being chairman of the Legislative Mentorship Initiative, something you are also very, very big patron of, which is a program that helps to build young people, young leaders, to be able to lead and lead well. I think we're going to change our curriculum for next year to include reputation management as part of it. The third and final one will be, and I think you challenged, we're talking about challenging, you challenged me earlier on with your second question, which got me thinking, how do we now translate this into the broader Pan-African legislative community? I think perhaps there's a scope for collaboration to actually do a report that looks at the reputation of parliaments across Africa and use that as a basis for challenging them as well. And this is something that can also be presented at the annual gathering, the General Assembly of all the speakers and presidents of the Senate across Africa. I think the those 3 actions we can move forward. Thank you very much for the
Thank you very much. All said and done. I think I would like to say that I will respectfully urge the leadership of NRPI to appoint ambassadors to continue to do this work. Like I said earlier, it's work in progress. And I think our catch here will be the young professionals hub. I would like us to use them because they have a big constituency and they can deliver. Thank you very much.
Wow, thank you so much. I could make notice kindly come up here, stand to the stage so we take a group photograph. I warmly welcome on stage Mr. President, Dr. Ikenele, could please join us for a group photograph. Ambassador Kesh, who is the representative of the Minister of Foreign Affairs. Also, the Vice President, Professor Emmanuel Dandaura, please. Thank you. Oh, please, let's have.
First lady, go ahead.
Okay.
Mrs. Nedako, please. Mrs. Nedako.
Can we please invite Mrs. Nediako to join? Thank you. And fellows present? Fellows present, kindly join the group photograph. Thank you. Council members, can you join the photograph? Thank you.
We'll know how to decide your sex when we're having a Frank, you see Jonas. Frank, I see Jonas. Otherwise, your motor no go start.
My chapter chairman is seated. Please join the photograph, sir.
He is anchoring. Go to that side. Chairman.
I thought I had a session.
Yes. Go up that nuclear man, I beg.
Please, I bring it. Can we have a group photograph?
Our chair.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Let's give them a big round of applause. Thank you. Let's settle down, please. Let's settle down. Let's settle down, please. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, please let's settle down. We just have less than 5 minutes to leave here, please. No. Just a few minutes we are done. Let's settle down, please. In less than 5 minutes, we are done, please. In less than 5 minutes, we are done. Let's settle down. The continental president, in less than 5 minutes, are done. Thank you. Let's settle down. Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, very briefly, I want to call on the representative of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs to just give us 2 minutes goodwill.
Don't give Minister time.
No, Minister knows that we are state and the time has come for us to go. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. The President and esteemed members of NRPI, distinguished invited guests, gentlemen of the press, ladies and gentlemen, good evening. My name is Kimiri Momatumi Kibienfa, spokesperson, Ministry of Foreign Affairs. I'm here to represent my boss, the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, who is presently outside the country on official assignment. Permit me to specially recognize one of my mentors in Nigerian diplomatic service, Ambassador Joe Kishi, the former career ambassador, and also currently the President Association of Retired Career Ambassadors to Nigeria. Wearing the cap presently as spokesperson of the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, it has not been easy. You speak for the ministry, you speak for the minister, and sometimes on very sensitive issues, everybody is waiting to hear when you speak for Nigeria. And he has continued to provide guidance and fatherly advice whenever I run to him when I'm in difficult waters. Thank you very much, Your Excellency, for that continuous support. I am directed to convey the warm greetings of the Honorable Minister of Foreign Affairs, Ambassador Yusuf Maitama Chuka Kogone, on the occasion of the presentation of the Making Nigeria Reputation Perception Index Report 2025, organized by the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs commends the Nigerian Institute of Public Relations for this important national initiative, which represents the first systematic and evidence-based assessment of how Nigeria is perceived by key domestic and international public. This effort is timely as national image and credibility increasingly shape diplomatic engagement, economic relations, and international cooperation. From a foreign policy perspective, national reputation is a strategic national asset. International perceptions influence the reception of Nigeria's policies and the confidence with which states, institutions, and investors engage with the country. The ministry therefore welcomes the framing of national reputation as a tool to inform public policy, diplomatic engagement, national rebranding, and strategic communication. We strongly believe that the Nigeria Reputation Perception Index provides a structured platform for identifying perception gaps and aligning national actions with international expectations. The ministry recognizes the statutory role of the NRPI in providing professional leadership in strategic communication and reputation management, and used this report as a policy relevant intervention in the national interest. A very big congratulations to the leadership of the esteemed body for this laudable achievement. As diplomats, we are trained never to apologize for Nigeria, despite our challenges, but rather our task is to explain Nigeria, which is key in perception and reputation management. To give you a brief example of what we face sometimes, personally, I was opportunity to serve in our mission in Qatar 2 years ago, and as my senior colleague and mentor, Dr. Kish will attest to it, most times Nigerian diplomats provide leadership for other African diplomats on how best to manage multilateral activities. So I was active in coordinating diplomats from other African countries to meet regularly, to how best to engage our hosts, and also have a unified voice when we have issues to converse for. So one very day, one of my friends, a diplomat from one of the Southern African countries, I won't mention the particular country, not to expose myself, because my boss might know who I'm referring to. We're having a discussion, and she happily called a former Nigerian diplomat that has served in our mission in New York, that happens a young Nigerian guy is very active in our activities here, and I want you to speak with him. The phone was on speaker, but the then retired diplomat, without even allowing her to finish, said, "He's a Nigerian, be very careful about it." I know what I'm saying. He said, "No, this one is different. He's the one complete." He said, No. I know what I'm saying. I'm a Nigerian, be very careful. Now, why am I saying this? Sometimes, those of us in authority and leadership position, those that are retired, those that are serving, what we say about our country matters a lot. That is the perception that others will receive about us. If we say positive things, that is the narrative that will go down with them. But if we continue, let me use local balance, bad-mounting our country, unfortunately, that will be cumulative of what they will think about us. So I think it will be good for us, no matter where we are, to always think what is positive so that the narrative will change. Also, another example, I was opportunity to serve in Angola, and I discovered that the mission was not having very good rapport with the Nigerian community and those coming for visa. Those countries, most times, come to Nigeria for religious tourism, from the late TV Joshua to, I think, Christ Embassy, they come for their religious activities. Now, when they come to the embassy, sometimes maybe because of financial constraints, we might not have the best of buildings for people to appreciate. But the perception that they will get when they meet the receptionist or those that work in the embassy matters office. I decided on my own to say, okay, whoever that comes to the embassy, at least let's provide tea for the person. In fact, I was reported to my ambassador for trying something that will cause problem for the mission. But those little things that we can do at our own space matters a lot, because like what Mr. President said here, the reports, the narrative, the stories that we had about Nigeria, where he traveled to, matters a lot. They have not been to Nigeria, but that is what they think about Nigeria. So we'll continue to do what is right after our own spaces. It will go a long way in correcting or forming the impression about what really we are and what we are as a country. In conclusion, I want to assure you that the Ministry of Foreign Affairs remains committed to engaging constructively with the findings and policy implications of the report and to working with relevant institutions to advance coherent national narratives. Thank you very much for your attention. God bless you.
Thank you very much, Honorable Minister. Thank you, thank you, thank you. I will now want to very respectfully call on the Chief Operating Officer, RPS, to give us a vote of thanks. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. I also want to quickly give this commitment on behalf of the President NIPR as well as the Vice, that we at RPS, Reputation Perception Services, also make sure that this report becomes an annual report. Not only will we do 2026, we also do 2027. So we'll continue to have an annual report on the reputation of Nigeria. That is a commitment that the President is giving to us. And we at RPS, we are committed to protecting the integrity as well as public trust of our dear nation, Nigeria. So please just look out for the 2026 report in the coming months. So on behalf of the entire board, management and staff of Reputation Perception Services, I want to say a big thank you to everyone for coming. We've actually enjoyed your time. We presented this and we are happy that you actually accepted this report. We are actually thinking there will be some backlash at first, but the reception has been quite encouraging. So we are encouraged at RPS and want to say thank you to the President of NRPI and the Vice for giving us this opportunity to coordinate, or to establish and to be partners with you in this project. So on behalf of everyone here, I just want to say thank you very much for coming. You have a lovely evening. We appreciate your presence, all your excellencies, the council members and the fellows, and all their colleagues of the practice of NIPR. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you very much. Before we go, let us collectively, both of us, on behalf of the President and the NIPR, very, very profoundly thank the special guest of honor for today for staying through to the end. Ambassador Joe Keshi will remain very, very grateful. Thank you, sir. With that, distinguished ladies and gentlemen, we draw the curtain for today's event. Thank you, and God bless you all.
That's a good one.